Welcome to Micka on Influence, your go-to podcast for bold conversations and impactful insight into influencer marketing, content creation, and the ever-growing creator economy. Every week, we are diving deep into real stories, smart strategies, and game-changing moves, shaping this dynamic space. From top creators to brand strategists, CMOs to media planners, we bring you raw, actionable insight straight from the front lines. This is where influence meets intention. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Micka on Influence. Joining me today is Jhene Nel, the Sales Director of Nfinity. Jhene, thank you so much for joining me for this episode.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite, Micka.
Fantastic. I'm excited to talk about this brand new, groundbreaking research. Research now proves, right, for years, creators were kind of seen as short-term sales tools. And now, in fact, they are seen as digital's first true branding or brand building channel. So firstly, did you go through the research, the IPA research? Tell me what you thought about that.
Yeah, I think it's exciting for us to actually have some research to back up that, influencer marketing does give positive trends towards brands, does help build brands. So I think it's exciting that it's kind of the first study that's been released that shows that, what we do works.
Fantastic. Did the findings confirm what you've observed in South Africa, though?
Yeah, I mean, I work on reports on a daily basis from clients across industries, from FMCG to pharmaceutical to financial, and I truly believe in our channel because it really does deliver incredible results. I'd see the reports daily, work on them daily. Even where clients have ad sets running for a couple of years and they've optimized over the years, we coming in with a campaign, and our campaign still holds up against those benchmarks that the brands are achieving, if not beat them. So yeah, I mean, I think it's what I see on a daily basis.
Fantastic. The research also argues that marketers have misused creators, focusing on short-term sales rather than long-term brand building. Why do you think this happened?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree in a sense because it's something that we've been going to market with for a few years now, where marketers like to do campaign bursts. So then it's Easter, then it's festive, then it's back to school, and it's kind of, then they remain quiet, but they just do these like bursts. And from a marketing perspective, that's kind of a trend we're trying to change in the influencer space and say, even if it is from your nano influencer perspective, you should always just have, people continuously having conversations about your brand, creating content about your brand, making your brand relevant for consumers. So yeah, I think it's a good statement to make, and I'm really hoping that marketers pick up on that.
And how has the performance-only mindset kind of shaped the beliefs and KPIs in local influencer marketing?
I mean, you know what? It's a tough one for us in the sense of we're a media buy at the end of the day. Influencer marketing is part of the media industry. But when compared to TV or out of home, they're not directly held accountable for any kind of leads they give or sales they give. Whereas in the influencer space, yes, you're a media buyer, but you also have to deliver certain ROI. So it is those leads or those sales or those impressions or those competition entries, whatever that benchmark is for that particular campaign. So we're in a tough space. Not only are we getting brands to agree to the kind of person they want to work with, but they need to like the content that person puts out, and then we're accountable to deliver performance on that campaign. So yeah, it's a tough industry, especially because so many people are thinking they can do influencer marketing, and there's different agencies popping up every day in this space. So yeah, but it's interesting to see how things are playing out.
I just want to touch on what you said with regards to influencer and being a creator. I think a lot of us are still unsure what exactly the difference is. Can you break it down for us?
So again, I think many people will have their own terminology or their own feeling about this. And I think that there's probably another division I can add into that. So in my mind, there's actually three. The first one is your peer to peer influence, and that is something we solve through our product called the Salt. And that is consumers. It's igniting your own consumers to have these conversations on your behalf. It's not people that are a content creator or an influencer. They're just an everyday person that loves your brand, buys your brand, and is igniting them. You then have influencer, which is somebody that has the form of influence, but they're not necessarily a brilliant content creator. So if you're looking at possibly skit creators or humor, people that rely on a lot of humor, um, they've got influence, but they're not necessarily delivering picture perfect kind of content. And then you've got a content creator. And your content creator is somebody that you give them a brief and they nail it. They land the creative concept, they land how they film it, what it looks like, aesthetically, it's pleasing, for the clients. And yeah, so yeah, in my mind, there's actually three different tiers.
Okay, thank you for explaining that so beautifully. Creators now also show that they have the highest long term ROI of any channel. What exactly is driving that?
I think it comes down to driving a share of voice for a brand, if you can think about it that way. You, through creators, if you're able to ignite these guys um, over long term, or you create some kind of a really good campaign that remains memorable for people, um, it will come to play when they're in that buying frame of mind. I think that's the other thing that marketers have to remember. Even though somebody's in your target market, it doesn't mean that they're being captured at that specific time. If I can give you an example, Huggies, for example, or Pampers might be targeting 25 to 35-year-olds because that's their key target market, people that have an interest in kids, but there might be some 25-year-olds that haven't had their kids yet, but we still have to build our brand so that when those people are in their buying cycle, that they're actually, making that decision. And I think that's the longevity that we're saying is part of what we're doing is not about getting that add to cart right now, but building that brand for when that somebody is in that buying cycle. So yes, our campaigns have to have longevity because not everybody that's seeing your content is always in that buying cycle at the moment when they're seeing it.
So important. Thank you for that. In your view, what makes creator content effective at building emotional connection and brand trust, of course?
I think it always comes down to just allowing the influencer to be their authentic self. Um, Emotion is always going to do incredibly well, and humor beats everything in content creation. You can have the most least aesthetically appeasing piece of content, but if you land the humor really well, it will do incredibly well. So yeah, I think it comes down to just making sure that you choose the right creator for your brand, that you choose a brief that would resonate to your client or to your target market, the kind of creators that are going to land it. Um, and then yeah, you should get something at the end of the day that's going to do its job for you as a brand.
Fantastic. And then also the study kind of avoids the word influencer and focuses more on creator. Do you agree with the distinction?
I mean, like when I explained the three different kind of categories in my mind, yeah, you can see it however you want to. I think every campaign is completely different. So it depends on what your objective is for a specific campaign. In this particular study, I think they looked at 144 different campaigns from 7 different agencies. So, every one of those would have had a different kind of angle and strategy. And you can imagine that in those briefs or strategies, there might have actually been some influencer profiles, some creator type profiles. So, yeah, I think it comes down to the brief that you're looking for, the creative you're looking for, the brand that requires influence, the timing of the year that the campaign needs to happen. There's so many deliverables in our space, um, and sometimes it's a mix of these tiers that are required, and sometimes one of those tiers could answer the brief quite well.
And then also the report warns that the creative quality varies wildly, especially when creators they kind of crack on with brand alignment or without brand alignment rather. What are brands and agencies kind of getting wrong when it comes to this?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes trying to over control briefs, trying to sometimes a brief lands with us that should actually been briefed into a creative agency, and they could have just created the content in a studio for the brand, and the brand would have been happy with that, you know. But they come to influencers because they want that human to human influence. And so we need to be very careful of over dictating to influencers exactly what it needs to look like, and um, rather try and stick more to kind of natural integration of your brand within their lifestyle. You've chosen them for a reason, and let them tell that story, you know. So yeah, that's where I think brands can often get it wrong. It's just completely over dictating what it is they're looking for.
I love when I'm scrolling on social media and I see brands and creators that have previously work together again. What does an effective creative partnership between a brand and creator look like in your experience?
So yeah, I think it's ideally, if your brand could have that always on strategy from having peer to peer people, you know, everyday consumers on a monthly basis having these conversations. And why is that so important? Is because with AI increasing and getting so important in everyone's lives, people aren't really using Google for searching product recommendations or things anymore. It's very much AI searches. And AI, lucky for us, plugs into to social media platforms. And so the more conversations we're deploying about your brand, the better for you from an AI perspective. So there's that form, you know, of influence of let's deploy people on a regular basis. And then your micro and macro influences, it's always a good idea to have, you know, a bunch of micros and macros that work well for your brand, and at the end of every campaign assess and kind of next burst you kind of carry them over. But at some point you've got to realize that there's only so many kind of collaborations you can do with a creator on a specific brand or a specific brief, so that will also, you know, fade away. So it is always important to have some people carry them over, but bring fresh blood in, because there'll be new people will take different angles on your brief, different angles on your product, and you'll get new sets of creatives, types of creatives. So if you're thinking of that combination then of everyday people having their conversations about your brand, and we're trialing and testing different micro and macro influences, as well as, by the way, different genres. If you're thinking from a South African perspective, sporting talent, at what point would a brand consider collaborating with a sporting talent that they never have? That would only happen if they're kind of changing up who their creators are and giving new people an opportunity to work on their brand from campaign to campaign.
Do you have an example for about a partnership and a creator, or creator and a brand that had a good partnership?
If I had to think on the top of my head, probably somebody like MTN and Sipho Alfie have been working together through us for quite a few years. But I know that, you know, MTN is such a diverse brand, and they've got so many different kind of segments, and so I think he collaborates with a brand even beyond us. So yeah, I think that's a really good partnership for me. And again, he's got a very good sense of humor, and so he just lands the brief in a very authentic way most of the time as well. So yeah, I think that's one of the, probably, that I can think of the top of my head, one of the longer ones. And then we also have kind of a 3-year thing happening with Peter Steph Toy and Gillette, and that's a lot less in your face. The photo shoot was done, and he'll post a little bit, they'll post a little bit. So yeah, that's not necessarily different campaign driven. So if you think MTN has got very campaign based, where Gillette is kind of done from a brand ambassador level. So there's also those different levels of campaign interaction with influencers.
Jhene, if creators deliver value over 2 years, right? How should brands kind of evolve their ROI measurement?
Every brand will always have their own metrics. And I can be honest with you, some brands, their metrics differ from campaign to campaign. At the end of the day, the brand's got to decide, if I invest this money in a media channel, what is it that I'm looking for? Am I building my brand here, or am I looking for direct return on something? Um, so yeah, I think it's a matter of the brand understanding, you know, are we building our brand here? Then we're playing in the awareness space. And as we kind of move down funnel, are we now looking for kind of traffic and newsletter signups, CRM buildups, whatever it is? And then are we looking for, maybe we're FMCG brand and we were looking for checkout through kind of a retailer, you know? So yeah, every brand's got to decide what their objective is, where in their kind of journey they are as a brand. And I think for us, sometimes we get brands that actually don't know, and that's okay, because through our journey, we'll help you set those benchmarks and we'll help you figure out where, what is your kind of cost per sale or your cost per lead or whatever that is. And because brands are launching new products or sub products, on a regular basis. So just because a insurance brand, it has a specific cost per lead on their normal insurance brand, but now they launch a sub product, doesn't mean that that benchmark stands. So yeah, sometimes we've got to help clients figure out what it is, what their kind of measurement of success is.
Marketers, tired of juggling influencer campaigns? Nfinity Influencers got you covered. We are Africa's top influencer managed services partner, taking all the heavy lifting off your plate and releasing your team to focus on your core business. Our team pairs you with the perfect creators from our exclusive network, and the state-of-the-art technology platform Access fine-tunes every post and tracks the stats your CFO actually cares about. All while you stay focused on running the show. Want results without the headache? Book a discovery call at infinityinfluencer.co.za.
And let's talk about the new metrics, right? What can we consider, or what new metrics or time frame should we consider beyond engagement and impressions?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many things to consider from an influencer perspective, and I can give you a few. Yeah, so there is your video views, your engagements, your engagement rate. So how many people are actually engaging versus seeing the content. Your reach and your impressions are two different things again. Your frequency is important. Um, but it is that ultimate goal objective. You've got to remember, when you're running an influencer campaign, you can only optimize for one thing. So when we're deploying performance media behind our content, at a proposal phase, you're deciding, well, is this a reach campaign, or is this an engagement campaign, or is this a clicks campaign, or is this a sales campaign, a leads campaign? What is it? So there's all these kind of other metrics we can report on additionally. View through rates, so you've got all these organic things we can report on, but ultimately your campaign success is going to be that one KPI, and that's the thing that this whole campaign has to deliver. And yeah, that's usually set at proposal phase.
And just to clarify for our viewers and listeners, what is KPI?
Key performance in like metrics, essentially. So like, what is your main objective for your campaign? Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about professionalizing the industry. The UK is formalizing creator standards and frameworks. What would professionalization look like in South Africa?
I think we're already there. If you're thinking of that, we're not allowed to run any kind of influencer campaign, even on a nano level, without kind of hashtag ad or hashtag, brand partner, or kind of some form of declaration around it. So I think that we we do well in that sense of declaring when it's a paid for post and when not. Um, yeah, I think it's a tough one to answer beyond that, because that's kind of something that's out of our hands really, and we just got to go with kind of the laws as they get set. But I think there's a tough one for us as a country, in terms of which brands are and aren't allowed to play within this space. And I think that's probably something that we'll see some clamping down happening in. If you're thinking of, for example, TikTok not allowing any performance media on betting brands, so TikTok generally, doesn't allow betting or alcohol in their space. And we might see a bit more clamping down on things like that from an industry perspective as well, beyond just kind of declaring those relationships.
Okay, that's interesting. And how is Webfluential preparing for a more data-driven, accountable influencer ecosystem?
Look, Webfluential's just launched Webfluential 2.0. So Webfluential was already ahead of the curve in terms of its tech, when I started with them 7 years ago. And we've just launched 2.0, and we're busy migrating all our influencers over. And the tech is just sensational. So it's a matter of, I think we're already ahead of the curve. It's having that performance media team, but also your collaboration team. It's not just content, it's not just performance, but it's that combination of. So yeah, I think the team is really, one of our goals is always to kind of remain ahead of the curve and just make sure that we kind of we don't get caught off guard with what's coming. So yeah, I think it's a matter of we're there, and it's a matter of combining our tech, but with people that have a lot of knowledge in the space too. Because tech is only going to get you so far. Our space, unfortunately, is we're not booking billboards. It's we're dealing with people, and so we need people to deal with people. So yeah, we're growing the team. We're launched our tech. We've just got to get it more in market now, and more clients into our space, into our ecosystem.
What would you say excites you about creators being the new brand building channel?
It's very exciting because I present to brands on a daily basis. And one of the stats that come out is saying is that 92% of consumers relate to other consumers, get influenced by other consumers. And that essentially is influence. So we've got to realize that brand advertising, as important as it is for a brand to build themselves, ad fatigue is real. And so creators really is that soul for brands. And we're just going to keep seeing the space growing. But I think it is important for brands to keep using the space authentically, and not over prescribe what it is that they want these people to say and how to say it and how it looks about their brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And what advice would you give marketers who still see creators as content suppliers, right? Rather than strategic partners?
I think there's a time and a place for it. If the brief comes that's what I'm looking for, and we've got clients like that. We've got clients that are literally say, I need the content from you. I'm not interested in the influencer posting. They just need the actual creative for their own brand pages. So I think there's a time and a place for it. But yeah, as long as they understand that, and if they're having the actual influencers posted from their own handles, be considerate of that. Because if I'm speaking in a certain way today on my social media, and everybody knows me in that way about this product, or how I feel, or how I am as a family unit, whatever, and tomorrow I come with a completely different dynamic, people see straight through that.
Yep, absolutely. In one sentence, what's the biggest takeaway from this research for South African brands?
I think that it does work when it's done right. If you partner with the right agency and you've got the right kind of partners doing this with you, it will definitely help you in whatever phase you're in, whether it's that brand building phase or conversion phase, or wherever you are in your journey. But I think it is very important to be selective in who you partner with, because content is an expensive game to play in. I think it depends on who you choose and which share of influence you're in, but it can be. Um, and I think important to deal with people that have a huge database for you to choose from. Otherwise, you find yourself dealing with a small agency that possibly only has, a couple people on their books, and they keep on recycling these people. And so yeah, I think it's partner with the right person so that you get it right. Because I've dealt with clients before, and the feedback is, oh, I've done influence marketing, it doesn't work, or it's hard work, or whatever it is, and you kind of, as a marketer, then that becomes a space that they're not interested in playing in anymore. And so yeah, if you're going to try it and you haven't yet, definitely partner with the right people. It's going to give you a good experience. That's going to make you look good at the end of the day, and help you get product off shelf.
Just to wrap things up, how can marketers start building long term brand impact through creators?
Yeah, I think to summarize the 3 points then. So definitely include it as part of your marketing mix. Don't see it as a one burst thing. So, keep it as part of your brand building, as much share of voice as you can, especially with the growth of AI. Use different tiers of influencers as much as you can, because we're a very diverse nation, and one, for example, ambassador is not going to resonate to our whole population. So uh, tap into as many kind of tiers as you can throughout your kind of fiscal, and set and track those KPIs or those ROIs, what it is that you want to achieve, and make sure that your agency or campaign at the end of it comes back with a report saying, these are the metrics, this is how it's won. Otherwise, it becomes a subjective thing of, I didn't have a good experience, no, influencer marketing doesn't work, but the data doesn't lie. So make sure that when you do this, that you understand what are those metrics that you're trying to achieve as a brand. And when the report comes through, that you can go back to the business and say, these are the numbers.
Fantastic. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Jhene, for joining me and giving us such incredible advice. To all our listeners and our viewers, like, follow, subscribe. You already know the vibes. And tell me what you took from this specific episode. Until next time. Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of Micka on Influence. I hope you're walking away with fresh insights and new ideas to level up your influencing game. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, follow and like, and also share with your network. Join the community obsessed with mastering the art and science of influence, because in this space, we don't just follow trends, we create them. Until next time, keep creating, keep connecting, and stay influential.